Have you ever wondered if just a tiny little cluster of pixels right in the center of your screen could literally dictate your skill level? I mean, it sounds kind of crazy, right? But think about it for a second. Your crosshair is arguably the single most important piece of user interface design in any competitive shooter. It's the direct link between your eyes, your mouse, and your target. So today, we're tackling the ultimate question. Does your crosshair actually make you a better player? Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're breaking down a completely fascinating, incredibly high-stakes experiment from a player who set out to test literally every single crosshair type in the super fast-paced game Roblox Rivals. We're going to treat this chaotic gaming experiment as essentially a masterclass in UI design. We'll look into the psychology of shapes, the absolutely crucial importance of color contrast, and ultimately, we're going to discover the formula for the perfect design. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, the upgrade challenge. Second, categorizing the noob, pro, and hacker styles. Third, ranking YouTuber crosshairs. And finally, uncovering the perfect crosshair formula. All right, kicking things off with part one, the upgrade challenge. So our source material begins with this really high-pressure experiment. The creators set a strict rule for themselves. After every consecutive win in Roblox Rivals, their crosshair levels up, getting more and more complex. But if they lost, they'd have to suffer a humiliating username change. Now, at level 1, they started with the most basic, fundamental UI element you can imagine, just a basic white dot. By level 2, it evolved into a cross shape with a dark outline. And miraculously, they managed to keep their win streak alive all the way through level 5, which they called the Holy Grail, all the way up to a wildly distracting, super colorful level 8 rainbow. Well, let's hit pause for a second and look at a massive tactical realization that happened right out of the gate with that basic white dot. The creator noted, it's kind of hard to see. It's all white with no outline on basically an all-white map arena. And, this hits the nail on the head regarding a foundational rule of UI design. Visibility absolutely requires contrast. A white dot on a bright, snowy arena, it completely washes out. If you lose track of your crosshair, you lose the fight. Simple as that. That's exactly why step 2, adding that dark outline, was a literal survival necessity. Moving right along to part 2, archetypes. We're talking noob, pro, and hacker styles. This comparison is hilarious, but honestly, it's incredibly educational. On one side, you've got the noob archetype. These are massive, goofy designs, like giant flowers or literally a smiling yellow head. The tactical detriment here is huge. They're screen-blocking monstrosities. You physically cannot see the enemy behind them, which pretty much forces you to rely on weapons like shotguns that don't need precision. Then, on the other side, we have the pro archetype. These are clean, minimalistic, black and white crosses, totally distraction-free, highly visible, and designed purely for optimal tracking and hitting those crisp headshots. Now, what's really interesting about this is the wild placebo effect introduced by the hacker archetype. These were massive, glowing purple or giant green crosshairs that took up huge chunks of the screen. Logically, they should be terrible, right? But the aesthetic alone completely altered the player's mindset because it looked like a literal aimbot hacking interface, software that automatically aims for you. The creator found themselves hyper-focused, pulling off inhumanly fast, precise mouse flicks. It really goes to show how much player psychology and confidence can be influenced by pure visual aesthetics. It's wild. All right, part 3, ranking YouTuber crosshairs on a tier list. To get some real hard data, the creator put 12 famous YouTuber crosshairs to the test in live arenas to build a definitive tier list. And here's how it all shook out. At the very top, reigning in S tier, we've got Slingshot Boy and Bolton, featuring incredibly clean, high-contrast designs. A tier gives us Athelino and Mini Bloxy, with sharp original crosshairs. B tier has ECI, Enrique, and Hoppy. Solid designs, sure, but with minor flaws like blending colors. Down in C tier, we find Carpal and K, who got penalized for bulky shapes and bad coloring. D tier belongs to Tiny Dude and Tanker, who, surprisingly, rock no crosshair at all. And finally, sitting at the absolute bottom in F tier, Nico and Cash, who literally just use the default UI. So let's talk about why Slingshot Boy easily snagged that S tier spot. It's all about this number right here. 15,000. That is Slingshot Boy's active win streak in the game. You don't hit a 15,000 win streak by accident, and you certainly don't pull it off with bad UI. His crosshair is this tiny black and white emo cross. It's the least distracting color combination you could ask for, it gives perfect contrast against literally any map background, and it's small enough to allow for pinpoint precision without blocking the target. Honestly, it's just pure efficiency. And this brilliantly illustrates the exact UI design flaws that dragged the other creators down the tier list. I mean, why do crosshairs fail? First, color blending. Enrique Brav's red crosshair looks cool, but enemies highlight in red, meaning his crosshair literally vanishes into the target. Bad idea. Second, blocking the view. Carpal and ECI's designs were just a bit too bulky, totally obscuring enemies at long range. Third, distracting colors and shapes, like K's bright yellow up arrow. Fourth, relying on blind luck rather than UI, like Tanker playing with absolutely zero crosshair. And finally, just plain complacency, settling for the massive inaccurate default UI like Miko and Cash did. Which brings us to part 4, the perfect crosshair formula. After testing all these crazy variables, we can actually synthesize some concrete UI lessons. The perfect crosshair formula isn't magic, it's practically a science. First, you absolutely need high contrast. Black and white or a vibrant power block screen ensures your crosshair never gets lost in the map or the enemy. Second, minimal screen blocking. The smaller the crosshair, the more information your brain is getting about the target's movement. Third, there's a brilliant tactical tweak we saw in Aethelino's A-tier design, actually removing the top line of the cross so it never ever obscures the enemy's head. And finally, stick to clean, non-distracting shapes. A simple cross or an X will always beat out a flower or an arrow. Which leaves us with a pretty compelling final thought to ponder. We've seen that a giant, glowing hacker crosshair can somehow give you an insane placebo confidence boost. But we also know, hard data-wise, that a tiny, boring black and white cross is statistically superior for a 15,000 win streak. So I want you to look at your own setups, whether that's in games or even just your everyday digital workspaces. Are you choosing designs that actually help you perform? Or would you sacrifice perfect visibility just to have a cool-looking aesthetic? It is definitely something to think about the next time you boot up. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep optimizing.